Is this the dagger?
G'day guys, JB here, coming at you with essentially a conference finals review. We'll cover round 2 and round 3. I was going to cover round 2 and was only going to cover the conference finals on an individual basis, but with the lack of content when you're trying to just bust through those there, sometimes it's not worth an episode. While many people like to do short and sharp episodes, I prefer a little bit of content, so that's why I've held off on this one here. Obviously, we're through round 2. Obviously, we're through the conference finals. We're getting ready for the NBA finals, a little over 24 hours away from the time of recording and under 24 hours away from the time of posting. So we'll go through the last 6 series that have occurred, and of course, we'll do a preview for the big one that is coming up very, very soon. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's get into the review of round 2 and round 3 of the conference finals for the 2025 NBA playoffs. We'll head back to the second round and we'll head back to Indiana's series in round 2. They took on the Cleveland Cavaliers and belted them 4-1. It's probably the best way to describe this series. Tyrese Halliburton, for me, the best player in that series. 17.4 points, 4.6 rebounds, 7 assists per game, 0.6 steals and 1 block on 2 turnovers. Shot 54.4 from the field, 45.8 from deep and 77.8 from the free throw line. Joining him with some rounded numbers, Pascal Siakam around an 18, 6 and 4 with a steal. Shot 54, 44 and 59 splits. Could have been better from the line. Miles Turner around at 16, 7 and 1 to go with a steal and 3 blocks on 51, 56, 78 splits. Really nice there. And Nesmith, 14, 7 and 2, ones the rest of the way on 50, 40, 80 splits. Nice work there. For the Cavs, Donovan Mitchell injured, didn't manage to get the most out of himself, but in games played still managed a rounded 34, 6 and 4, 2 steals and a block. 42% from the field, 25% from deep, not ideal. But again, we're talking about a player that was injured. And there really was a lack of support from there. Jared Allen, 13 and 7 with ones the rest of the way on 68% from the floor. Max Strus, 12, 7 and 4 on 39% from the field. And Ty Jerome had a really nice year off the bench, but just couldn't come up trumps when needed in that second unit. Around at 8, 2 and 3, barely ticking that 30% box from the field. It was one of many playoff series that were clearly impacted by injuries. No one's going to question that there. Really evident that Donovan Mitchell's injury really impacted this series and the accountability of the Pacers defensively. On top of that, though, besides those injuries, it was the inefficient scoring of the Cavs that really proved costly. I mean, you've got a guy averaging 34, but he's needing to take essentially that many shots to get there. Guys like Strus who are being able to step up at a second unit. Obviously, Evan Mobley, not a big part of this series either, really proved crucial, so that certainly hurt the defensive side of the ball, and not having a primary scorer. But at the same time, you've got guys that need to step up on a team that's going to win 60-odd games, and unfortunately, they just didn't do it there. As I mentioned, Strus, 39% from the floor for 12 points a game, and Ty Jerome, 8 points a game for a rounded 30% from the field. Not ideal, and certainly not what's going to get the job done anytime soon. As we move on over, it's going to be it was a matter of what was going to happen next. Indiana probably could have fallen out of a boat in a sales yard and still found water. They just couldn't miss. Meanwhile, form and health at the right time of the year. Clearly a blessing for the Pacers and a big reason they were able to advance through to the conference finals. On the other side of things, the New York Knicks, they were, I wouldn't say fortunate with injuries, but certainly didn't hurt them. They managed to actually get the job done in 6 against the Boston Celtics. Jalen Brunson with a nice series there, remaining their big game leader. 26.2 points, 3.8 rebounds, 7.2 assists with 0.5 steals and 0.2 blocks on 2.5 turnovers. 44.5 from the field, 39.1 from deep and 82.5 from the free throw line. If we continue through there for New York, Karl Anthony Towns around 20 and 13 ones the rest of the way on 47% from the field, 93% from deep, 93% from the line, 16% from deep, not ideal. Mikal Bridges, really rounded numbers for him along with Josh Hart. Bridges 15, 5 and 4, 2 and 1 on 43%. Meanwhile for Josh Hart it was 15, 8 and 5 with ones the rest of the way. 46, 38 splits from the field. Obviously the big issue was Jason Tatum going down injured, and he obviously won't fit, well, certainly in this picture for this playoff series, but certainly won't fit into the Boston picture for the best part of 12 months. Jaylen Brown, 21, 7 and 5 with 1 steal a game. Subpar shooting for him, 40.4 from the field, so realistically a rounded 40, 29 from the deep, 68% from the line, really subpar there. Derek White, a rounded 25 and 3 on 43% and 40 from deep. Peyton Pritchard, 14, 3 and 2 on 43% from the field, 37% from deep. And Al Horford, a pedestrian, 9 and 5 with ones the rest of the way, albeit efficiently. As I mentioned, Jason Tatum, the nice guy that only just finished last, and now people see the light. It's the one thing I really don't get about the Jason Tatum equation. People want him to have a personality. People want him to be out there. His game is fundamental. It's boring to an extent. And people don't rate him despite the fact that he's a top 5 player in the league. And now that he gets out injured, everyone sees how valuable he is to Boston, how good of a player he is. And they've all but suggested they just blow the whole thing up for 12 months waiting for Jason Tatum to get back. If that doesn't speak volumes about the reversal that the media does all the time, sickening. Boston's lack of heart in Game 6 really spoke of a team that was burned out, mentally shot. They were done at half-time and they were down big time. Brown out in the third term. They checked out of that game with Jason Tatum, which is understandable when he went down injured in Game 5, but to not put up any fight in Game 6, a little disheartening. New York to the first conference finals since 2000, where they also played the Pacers. Was always going to be interesting how that was going to pan out. And the real question at that point there was, is there a concern about the lack of rotation and the constant use of minutes by New York? Would that play a factor? Will that be a concern? Well, you've only got to look at the conference finals results to make your judgment on that one. And here it is, the number 1 form team in the Eastern Conference since the turn of the year into 2025. The Indiana Pacers defeating the New York Knicks 4-2 as they head on to just their second NBA Finals and a crack at a championship for the first time since their ABA title in 1973. Beat the Knicks 4-2. The Conference Finals MVP, controversial choice by some, but it was a tight vote. Pascal Siakam, 24.8 points, 5 rebounds, 3.5 assists to go, 1.3 steals, and 0.7 blocks, 1 turnover a game. Really efficient from the floor, 52.4% from the field, 50% from deep, 67.4 from the free throw line, of course. Next to him, the Knicks killer. It's something about these light-skinned three-point shooting guards that really don't like New York as of recent years. It was Trae Young. It's now Tyrese Halliburton, around 21, 6 and 11 with 3 steals a game. 46, 33, 82 splits. Big series there by Halliburton. Multiple memorable shots, plays, and memories that will come out of this series for a generation now. Nesmith, 13, 4 and 1s across the rest of the board. 47% from the field, 53% from deep. 53% from deep, I should say, 93% from the line. And Miles Turner, around 13, 3 and 2 with 1 steal and 2 blocks, 56% from the field. On the other side of things for the Knicks, Jalen Brunson finished the year out with an average of 31, 3 and 6 in the conference finals, 50% from the field, 92% from deep, 35% from deep. Karl Anthony Towns recorded 1 block in this series. We'll get to that, around 25 and 12 with 2 assists, 50% from the field, 77% from deep. 77% from the line, 37% from deep. OG Anunoby around 18, 4 and 2s the rest of the way. 46, 29, 71 splits there. Mikal Bridges, 16, 4 and 3, 1s the rest of the way. 47, 35, 67 splits. So that defensive line of Anunoby and Bridges still trying to hold up. No shock though, as I mentioned, Indiana, the best record in the East since January 1, kept their form. They were healthy at the right time. They love to run. They love to gun. They embrace that big moment. Now they're playing in the NBA Finals. Massive tick in, the right direction for them. Tyrese Halliburton continues to show why he is far from overrated. You've got a guy that takes big shots, makes big plays, and really sets the tone for his team. That's not overrated. That's a star. Unfortunately, he plays for the Pacers. Many people are going to question how he didn't get that Conference Finals MVP. A lack of consistency in some of those losses, and there were a couple of games where Siakam, was on par with him. You've got to judge a whole series. New York, as a result, have fired their coach after generational performances as the head coach. I don't exactly know what the Knicks need to do. And I think the question really revolves around whether it's the coach or the players. Is it a lack of defense or is it a lack of depth in their rotation? We don't know. We'll never know because we're going to have a new coach and we likely will have a new lineup there for the Knicks starting next year. We'll move back over to the West, though, and we'll go back through the second round of the West there. Oklahoma City managed to scrape out a 7-game series win over Denver, so 4-3 there. Shea, the best player in that series for the victorious OKC. 29.7 points, 6.4 rebounds, 6.6 assists, 1.6 steals, 0.6 blocks on 2 turnovers, 52.9% from the field, 33.3 from deep, and 82.5 from the free throw line. Just your usual performance from Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Was supported well by Jalen Williams. 18, 5 and 6 with ones the rest of the way, albeit 38% shooting from the field. Chet Holmgren, a double-double, 14 and 11 with 2 blocks a game, 46% from the field, 70% from the line. And Isaiah Hartenstein, 11 and 9 with 2 assists, a steal and a block on 59%. So a real mix of size, really supporting the Thunder there through that series. For Denver, it's really interesting to know what's going to happen moving forward for them. They've made their interim coach their head coach, so we'll see what comes up next season. Jokic, below par for the year. I think even he would accept that. 28, 14, and 6. So, below par. 2 steals and a block. At that point there, he had led the entire playoffs through the first 2 rounds in total points, rebounds, assists, and steals. 48% from the field, 33 from deep, 81 from the line. Jamal Murray could be hot and cold. He had his Jamal Murray game, but it was that game. 21, 4 and 5, a steal and a block on 41% from the field. Aaron Gordon, 14, 9 and 3, another injury that proved costly. 44% from the field, 44% from deep. And Christian Brown, 13, 7 and 2, with ones the rest of the way, 41% from the field. Oklahoma City advancing to their first conference finals since 2016, that infamous KD and Russ team that then busted up over the summer. Depth really proved crucial for the Thunder. The question was a matter of whether that depth was going to continue to step up as it got further along. A lot of people not really liking the fact that OKC were just sort of bouncing, from a first-round team to 68 wins. Geez, if they overshot their mark. Not necessarily. We've seen this happen before. We've seen it a decade ago if you want to trace back the lineage of the championship. Could that depth continue to step up was the major question. Denver, running shallow, injured in 14 games through 2 series. They played a lot of big basketball minutes. To give you an idea, the 2 teams in the NBA Finals preview have played a total of 16 games through 3 series. Denver played 14 through 2. They went 7 games twice. It's a lot of basketball in the playoffs. And ultimately, Jokic all but said that the current team can't win a ring. So the question is, what's next for Denver? Do they trade? They've signed their coach on, so they're clearly confident in his abilities. But it's going to be a matter of what this lineup looks like for 25-26. I dare say there will be some crucial movements in the offseason for the Nuggets. And injuries once again decided to strike in another playoff series. So in the second round, we've seen Cleveland lose their main man in Donovan Mitchell. We saw Boston lose their main man in Jason Tatum. We saw a key, crucial clutch, probably the most clutch player throughout the playoffs to that point, Aaron Gordon, go down injured. And what happened here in the Minnesota Golden State series? Minnesota win the series 4-1, but Steph Curry goes down. And then Golden State turns into a rabble, but we'll get to that in a second. Winning 4-1, Ant, their best player, 26.2 points, 7.6 rebounds, 5.6 assists, 1.8 steals, 1.2 blocks, and 3.4 turnovers. 47.5 from the field, 44.2 from deep, 69.2 from the line. Julius Randle chipping in really nicely as well. 25, 7 and 7 on 53% from the field, 96% from deep. Jaden McDaniels, 13 and 6 with 2 steals, 53% from the field, 90% from the line. Naz Reid coming off the bench, 10, 3 and 2 on 54, 44, 100 splits. Jonathan Kuminga ended up being the lead scorer for Golden State in this series, which probably does speak volumes of where they're sitting. 21 and 3 with ones the rest of the way, 54, 42 from the field, 74% from the line. Jimmy Butler, 27 and 6. He's clearly not Jimmy Buckets anymore, but still a guy who can contribute to a team in championship contention. As I mentioned, 27 and 6, 2 and 1, 43% from the field does hurt. And the other main players to step up there for Golden State, they were just as bad, if not more inefficient. Buddy Hield rounded 15, 5 and 2 with 1 steal, 36% from the field. Doesn't matter what you shoot from 3 at that point. you are certainly missing more than you make. And Draymond Green, similar situation, around 11, 5 and 5 on 39%, 28% and 83 splits. Did another crucial injury change the entire outlook of a playoff series? We can't say that for certain, but there is no doubt about it that if I am Golden State, I am going to be wanting to play with Steph Curry more than I am not wanting to play with Steph Curry. That's a given. That's common sense. That's why he's a top 15 player the league's ever seen. I mean, Golden State also confirmed one thing once again, and that is with no Steph Curry, there are no Warriors. It's been like this for a little while now, but now it's just becoming more and more evident in age. What exactly they do from here, I don't know, but you really only have 1 or 2 more years to capitalise on Steph before he is running at that Jimmy Butler level. Let's be honest, that's just what happens with smaller guys. He's going to be able to shoot till he's 40, but his production's going to be vastly different. Minnesota making their second conference finals their second straight conference finals, third in franchise history. But the question is, was it enough form to carry them through to the NBA finals? Because there is a vast difference between the first 2 rounds and even the third and fourth rounds of an NBA playoff series. Well, we'll find that out pretty quickly. Ultimately, the answer was no. It was not enough form to carry them through to an NBA Finals. They were walloped. And I know everyone talks about what the margin of the series was. There's no doubt about it that the Minnesota Timberwolves were clearly outplayed by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma City, serious bad intentions, wanting to put the rest of the league on notice. And they did that by winning the series 4-1. SGA, the conference finals MVP, 31.4 points, 5.2 rebounds, 8.2 assists, 1.8 steals, 0.2 blocks on 2.8 turnovers. Efficiency down from the field, 45.7%, that is, 31.8 from deep, but 86.3 from the free throw line. For the rest of the team, Jalen Williams around at 22, 7 and 4 with 2 steals, 49, 56, 83 splits. Chet around at 18, 6 and 2 to go with 1 steal, 2 blocks, 57, 37, 71 splits. And Alex Caruso, the big defensive juggernaut in Game 7 against Nikola Jokic, decided to continue to step up around at 8, 2 and 1 with 2 steals, 46, 41, 100. That's epically efficient for a team that runs a lot of lineups and a team that loves to shoot the 3 ball. They covered ground very, very well. For Minnesota, Ant around a 23, 7 and 5 on the series, 47, 28, 69 splits. Julius Randle down in production from round 2, 17, 6 and 3 to go with a steal, 48, 48, 86 splits. Jaden McDaniels, Jaden McDaniels, 13, 5 and 2 with ones the rest of the way, 44, 42, 100 splits. And DiVincenzo around a 10, 3 and 3 with a steal, 44, 44, 100 split. So as you can see, production was down. They were forced to take a lot more outside shots, but again, credit has to go to Oklahoma City. There's a reason that they've won 68 games, and there's a reason they're on pace to be one of 5 teams to win 84 games regular season and playoffs. Outside of one bad game, Oklahoma City flat out dominated the series on both sides of the ball. You can see that in the efficiency, you can see that in the results, and you can also see that in the lack of production that was given to the opposition. There's nothing else you need to tell me about, points differential in this series, margin, whatnot. There's a reason Oklahoma City have a net rating of 12-6. It's just a fact. And this series was perfect because they just put the foot down and showed, yep, look, we're the team to beat. Depth on both sides of the ball, crucial, and the reason they may win 84 games. Because it doesn't matter what lineup they play. If they play a really deep defensive lineup, great, you're not scoring. If they play a flat-out offensive lineup, great, you're not stopping them from scoring. It's pretty basic, pretty simple. Minnesota are in for the long haul, there's no doubt about it. You got a leader that's 23 years old, but what's the next crucial move for their success? Who do they move? What do they acquire? What's the one key cog that can tip them over the edge and maybe get them to an NBA Finals in the next 2 years? Ultimately, rotations and performing in the regular season is their next step. They need to be a 3rd seed. So now we have one series left. The NBA Finals between the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. A duel of the 2 best records in the league since January 1st. Pacers 2nd, Oklahoma City 1st. So, realistically, for the last 6 months, the 2 best teams in the league will play off for a championship. And a lot of people don't like that because they're small markets, because they don't have outstanding superstars, despite the fact that both of them are clearly superstars. That is not on Tyrese Halliburton, and that is not on Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, that's on the NBA and their media. That's what happens when you can't market a league. That's what happens when you get stuck trying to market individual super teams and big cities. And the NBA's fallen in this hole for the last 15 years. They've now got to get out of it. I mean, we're talking about two teams here that are going to win their first title. Yes, Oklahoma City technically has the lineage of the Seattle Supersonics, but they've never acknowledged it. So we're talking about two teams that are going to win their first NBA title. We're talking about parity in the league to the point where we're going to have 7 consecutive years with a new champion. The league couldn't be healthier. This is what it needs. But its marketing machine is so skewed and so uneducated in the system, they don't know what they're doing because they don't cover it. That's not our fault as Hoops fans. That's the league's fault. What they do to that is up to them, but they need to move on it quickly. Briefly for both sides, they've been running 10 deep consistently throughout the playoffs. Oklahoma City has 10 guys who have played double-digit games, minimum 14 games, 15 games, 16 games so far these playoffs. The Pacers have 11. So they are a deep team who gets through their rotations as much as the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, both teams, have played 16 games heading into the series, so they're on an even keel as far as minutes on the floor realistically, but OKC have had a far bigger break heading into the NBA Finals. That is going to be crucial for a team that went pretty hard in the regular season. 68 games, you don't get that by just sort of taking your foot off the gas. And the last time we saw a team really push this kind of win mark and put their foot down in the regular season, didn't end well for them. Did not end well for them. For the Pacers, though, the key will be that they need to be able to run for 48 minutes each night. That is ultimately what has been their success, and it's ultimately what's going to get them to a championship if they're able to continue to do it. They cannot try and get into a half-court set. They cannot try and get into a battle with OKC in their style of game. Otherwise, they're just not going to win it. They're not going to compete. The thing that has made the Pacers the Pacers, and a big thing that helped them beat the Knicks, is their ability to run and just work hard. That's what they've got to continue to do here in the NBA Finals. They cannot, they can't get away from that. On the other side of things for OKC, they need to keep their lineups rotating and their adjustments, because you need to be wary of the fact that defensively you are going to have to be present, because Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton, they have a different dynamic to what you've faced so far. When you look at the constant matchups that OKC have had, they've been dealing with, sort of a big-small combination. You don't necessarily have that with the Pacers. They're more of a perimeter-based matchup. So you need to be wary of that. You've also got a big guy who's willing to step out and stretch the floor. So their big guys are going to have to be, crucial in that as well. But on the other side of it, if I'm Oklahoma City, doesn't matter what lineup I can run with offensively, because I know we can score and score efficiently. And defensively, whether we run a 5-0 or 4-1, whatever we do, we're going to be really, really competent and confident. And the reason I can say that about the way they play, they have the best net rating in the history of basketball. They are just that good. It's just a fact. It's going to be an interesting series. I think it's Oklahoma City in 6. And I think you then probably see them cemented as, well, I mean, history's telling us they're one of the 5 best individual single-season teams of all time. It's a scary thought. It's true. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see exactly where they get to. Anyway, guys, that's been me. Thank you for tuning in to my conference finals review and a bit of an NBA finals preview. I will endeavour to try and get some snippets out game by game as the series goes on. Try and get a little bit more content out there as the season winds to an end. Anyway, guys, that's been me. I'm out.